Okay, so welcome to another Word in Your Attic. We're delighted to join author, publisher, man about town, friend of the pod, Barney Hoskyns. Hello, Barney.
Good morning, guys. Nice to see you.
Good morning. It's very nice to see you in what can only be described as a library. There, you've got that's a proper. I know. In the last few weeks, we got used to looking at everybody's rows of books, but that's a properly organised row of books, there, isn't it?
It's a gentleman's library.
It is
how I like to think of it.
Are they all music books? Is that a music book library?
No, they're not. Actually, the music books are in the other room. These are, everything from the Bible to Elmore Leonard, basically, and all spots in between.
My Lord, you've read the Bible. That's impressive.
No, I didn't say I'd read the Bible.
So you've got lots of records, but they're mainly in the other room.
They're in the other room. So there's two sitting rooms, and the idea is that we do still have vagrant youth hanging around. We haven't managed to get rid of. So they're allowed to, play FIFA in there, and we can do slightly more grown-up, civilized things in this room.
I've got to ask you the question that keeps coming up whenever, particularly at the moment when people are looking at everybody's shelves full of books and records, particularly records. How do you file your records? Alphabetical, by genre?
I'm really I'm not as OCD or anally retentive as I should be about this. So that I did eventually get around, because we moved into this house about 2 years ago. And it took me a long time to get anything in any kind of order at all. So they're loosely grouped in, this clump of records begins with A, this clump of records begins with B. It's not ideal. I have to find some time to do them properly.
And what do you stand the Captain B file issue?
Well,
is Captain B file under C or under B? These are the important things to be sorted out.
Yeah, should we devote at least 20 minutes to that?
Why not?
Don't shilly-shally. I want an answer. Is Captain B under C or B?
I would say C, because it's not a real name. So therefore, it's a stage name, as it were, and therefore it has to be C. Well, Beefheart is not his actual surname. Sorry to tell you this, David.
He's thought about it.
You have to find out.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
There is some logic to what you do.
It's not what it says on this.
So, Barney, what have you got to show and tell this morning about? I believe you got out some LP covers. Is that right?
I've got a few things. I don't know. I mean, how many do you want? What
Far away. Let's see them.
All right. Okay. So, I thought I'd start with this, which is the album.
Now you're going to have to hold that steady so that people can see that. Hold it up.
The People.
Sweet and Swinging Simon. Is that the title of it?
No. You're missing the E on the end. It's Sweet and Swinging Simone.
Swinging Simone. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, yes, Simone.
So this is an album that actually belonged to my parents. It came out on the Marble Arch label in 1969. Oh, that's the bell. This is the perils of doing things on Zoom.
Don't worry.
My wife is answering it. So this album, my parents didn't have many quote unquote like pop records. A lot of classical records, very few pop records. But they did have this. I'm not even sure how they came by it, but they used to play it a lot. And so long before I even became like a proper fan of pop and rock, I was a Nina Simone fan at the age of like 10, because I found this record really beguiling. It has one of the most moving songs that I know of, really, called You Can Have Him. And that was written by, is it Cole Porter? I mean,
no, it was that You Can Have Him, I Don't Need Him. Is it? Is it Bacharach and
Irving Berlin.
Oh, is it? Okay,
I should really know that. And it's also got Cotton Eye Joe, The Other Woman, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. They were all tracks from her Colpix albums in the USA that obviously Marble Arch licensed, and they're just absolutely fantastic,
Very good, very good. So Marble Arch label, of course, we all got Marble Arch records. Marble Arch was Pie's budget imprint, wasn't it?
Weren't there about 10 and 6, the albums? I think
Well, I
the
think
Golden
there
Eye
might
and
be a bit
Donovan
more
and
of
things
that.
like that. I've got loads of them actually. I think they were very, very cheap, weren't they?
I think they
They
were
were
budget.
cheaper. Yeah.
They were budget.
Yeah,
But
there were Kinks records on Marble Arch,
Yeah.
Donovan records on Marble Arch. You know.
because of the pie connection,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So
yeah.
how Nina ended up on pie, I don't know. But anyway,
It
I
must
owe,
be
I owe my parents a lot for having this record, and
very good, very good.
I know I now owe
And you've still got it. You've still got it. That's
still got it.
terrific.
So I thought that'd be a good place to start because it was
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
part
Yeah.
of my, just falling in love with music, really.
First thing, what was the first thing you bought with your own money? Can you
I'm
remember?
so glad you asked because I have.
Oh,
One I prepared earlier.
Oh,
Yeah, I
here
know.
it is. Here it is, friends. It's not the most obscure or original thing, but I am proud to have spent my 10 shillings on this rather than whatever the hell it might have been. Neil Diamond's "I Am I Said," for example. But this is what I bought.
oh, it's a Rolling Stones.
Stones record. What
Which
record
one
is
is
it?
it? Brown Sugar or what?
It is Brown Sugar. I remember thinking, even then, at the tender age of 11 or whatever I was in '71, that there's something a bit like off color about a song called "Bitch." And now, of course, I mean, it is problematic, isn't it? But so
Yeah,
They don't start their set with it, do they?
Didn't Mark when you were in Ugly Rumors with Tony Blair, did you used to perform "Bitch"?
ooh,
No, we didn't. No, we did. Live with me. But Live With Me is controversial too. It's all about I've got nasty habits. I take 2, 3. The meat I have for dinner must be hung up for a week.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? There's a place for you, honey, in between the sheets. It's all about my best friend shoots water rats.
yes,
And it's just
fantastic lyric.
it's a really good lyric. Yeah.
Can we agree that it's better than living in a ghost town? I mean, just
Living in a Ghost Town was actually
between
recorded, I think, in November, wasn't it? And they just re-recorded one little verse about lockup or lockdown. Well, lockdown, isn't it? But life in lockdown to make it
It's
contemporary,
awful.
which is
Let's
cheating.
be frank,
Isn't it?
it's
It's
utterly
cheating.
awful.
Yeah.
But this is better. This is better.
This is
Considerably
better.
better.
Yeah. So Brown Sugar, that made me a fan of sort of swaggering soul and R&B influenced rock and roll for life. It's still one of my absolute favorite records. Though I was slightly dismayed years later to find out that it wasn't like a patented Keith Richards riff. I'd always, for many years, I just assumed it was Keith's riff. Actually, it was Jagger's riff.
It was Mick Jagger did it when he was making Ned Kelly,
Making
wasn't
a
he?
movie, wasn't he? Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, nonetheless, I still, to me, it's still as much about Keith as about Mick.
Yeah.
All right, Barney, we've moved location in your lovely home to get better signal.
But give me a complete tour.
Yeah. We're going to see every room, hopefully.
Yeah, we're looking
Very
forward
exciting.
to that.
I've tailored individual rooms to individual artifacts.
I expect nothing less.
So this is the Keith Richards
Carry on.
kitchen or whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know where we left off. I think we were talking about Brown Sugar, and I was essentially going to use that as an excuse to show off my signed copy of Keith Richards' autobiography. Do you
Very
know?
elegant.
Okay, it's signed by Keith, but it's also signed by the author James Fox. Such a brilliant job on making Keith's book the masterpiece that it was, I think. But so Stones, Keith, Brown Sugar, all of that. It was, I mean, I love the Stones from the word go. But actually, my first real idol was this fellow.
Oh yeah.
T-Rex, Electric Warrior. What can I say about T-Rex? Seeing T-Rex performing Get It On Top of the Pops was sort of my, baptism by pop fire, if you like. That was the moment when I sold my soul to rock and roll. I was bewitched by Bolan, and my painful memory is that my mother came in the room just when he was doing his kind of pouting thing, and I felt so sort of awkward, and she gave me a look of mild horror, really. I mean, who was this sort of creature on the telly? I loved T-Rex in some ways more than even Bowie, or certainly any of the glam was sort of my way into pop, you know, and this album I still think is really bloody good. I think
It's a really good record.
were really good. I mean, obviously, within a few years, we'd realised that Bolan wasn't quite as talented as David Bowie. He was a bit of a chancer, but with the band that he put together, and with Tony Visconti producing, you know, those records still sound absolutely terrific.
They sound absolutely fantastic. Those records.
And
it's interesting that
Jeepster and Get It On.
Yeah.
But how mortified the people who liked Tyrannosaurus Rex were when they heard T-Rex. I can remember them playing at the Wheelie Pop Festival in 1971.
So
a hail of bottles greeted them. There we are, Tyrannosaurus Rex. With the album with Peel's Fairy Story on it.
Hold up your Electric Warrior there, Barney, so people can see, you know, that transformation took place in a very short period of time.
You've got to love that massive amplifier. I mean, I don't know if it's a high watt or what, but it just is sort of, it's so huge, isn't it? It is the very image of sort of electric power. And just to call it Electric Warrior, I mean, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think actually the next thing is going to be is a really wonderfully embarrassing thing. I'm going to show.
Good.
But I'm sure you guys have similar things in your attic.
Millions.
Okay, so this is a scrapbook.
Oh, Steve Howe.
It is, isn't it?
Well recognised. It's a scrapbook compiled by I would think a 14-year-old Barney Hoskyns, and it's basically I would just cut things out of music magazines.
Well, let's see. That's brilliant.
Lovely.
Right? So I'm thinking this is 74. There's Mott the Hoople.
That's fantastic.
Little captions and guitars. I mean, look at this.
Fairport Conventions.
Oh, that's marvellous.
Yeah, I thought you might like that. And here's the owner of a trout farm.
Yes, of course.
What else?
Oh, I mean, that's beautiful.
I mean, and there's like John Paul Jones there, and it says, "The amazing bass guitar man, John Paul Jones." I mean, how cringy.
Good informative caption. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you know,
I love the way Steve Howe is your cover story, though. That indicates that's a priority.
Wasn't even particularly a Yes fan. It gets more and more cramped, as you can see. Clarence White. What's it all about? What does it mean? Jan Ackerman.
Jan Ackerman, that's amazing.
Anyway, so I thought I would just show you that. I can't.
That's beautiful.
I still own it.
That was basically your teenage scrapbook. I mean, let's be honest about this. I'm no amateur psychologist, but you had a crush. You had a crush on guys who played guitars, didn't you?
I did, really. I mean,
we all did.
Yes, we did, and I do think actually it's something that hasn't been sufficiently researched or explored. Is this slightly homoerotic relationship that adolescent boys have with rock stars? And funnily enough, I was going to even mention this because this is the first.
Yes.
Not the first album I bought, but it was the first like non-glam record I bought, and it instantly took me into a completely different world of music. I bought this at a stall in a market in Sudbury, Suffolk. My parents had a cottage near Sudbury, Suffolk, and every Saturday there was a market and there was this record stall, and I bought stuff there. And this still has what I love about Rock of Ages by the band. It still has the original sticker. I know exactly how much I paid for it. Special live double album, £3.25.
RRP.
Recommended retail price.
Yeah. Retail price. Those are the days of RRP.
And this was, I mean, I can't really overstate the importance of this record because it made me a band fanatic for life. You can see just how, I mean, it's falling apart. But I would play it, and I would just gaze, loving
look at pictures.
These pictures, you know. And I looked at this when I got it out of this. I mean, I just looked at. I thought, my God, how good looking were Rick Danko and Robbie Robertson, particularly. I mean, this picture of Rick there with the bass, the black and white picture. I mean, is that not the handsome?
Oh, it's astonishing.
Of rock and roll. And
one of the best looking men in rock. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And
we used to have this conversation many times on magazines we worked on. And the other one who never got enough attention, I think, was Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead. Although Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead, of course, part of the appeal he was immensely effeminate.
I never had a sort of a boyish crush on Bob Weir, I have to say. But I realise now, looking at that Rick Danko, I just sort of, now I realise just sort of how stunningly handsome he was. Having written a lot about the band, I know for a fact, having talked to many people about the band and people who knew them, that all the girls wanted to sleep with Rick Danko.
Fair enough.
All of them. And if they couldn't get Rick, well, then it was leave on. Robbie was taken, but so Rick took full advantage, let's just say that.
On Mojo magazine, I think on the 3rd issue of Mojo magazine, we ran a huge piece about the band written by you. And I can remember when we were working out what the magazine should look like, the fabulous art director, Andy Cowell, said, give me some clues, give me a few adjectives. And we said, well, it's going to be a big piece about the band. So it's got to be, the magazine's got to be it's got to be organic, and it's got to be woody, and it's got to be, it's got to feel authentic. It's got to be acoustic. And he went out immediately and bought a load of lino and made all these lino cuts to look like wood cuts. And do you remember that, David? Then made all these fantastic prints that he physically hand printed onto the artwork. And that became the kind of artistic aesthetic of Mojo, which is entirely based on the fact that we were doing your article in issue 3 about the band. So look how influential it was.
The funny thing about the band, I was thinking about this the other day.
That's a great record. Oh my Lord.
This is a copy of this that I bought. It's an import copy. So whenever it came out, I don't know, 73 or something like that.
Oh, I know what you're going to say, Dave. I know what you're going to say.
Well, it used to get it came wrapped in a huge, great poster. And of course, people nowadays, people collect this stuff. And if a record like this came out nowadays, there are a certain number of people who would buy 2 copies, one to put in a vault, or possibly 3 copies, one to put in a glass case. And nobody did that or anything like that back in the day. So when you got a thing like that was wrapped in a poster, you just took out the poster, whoopee,
stuck it on your wall.
Stuck it on your wall of your damp old flat in Wood Green. And, when you moved 2 years later, it fell away, went in a bin. All that stuff just totally disappeared.
Can I just quickly ask, why were you so fascinated by American music? Because most of the books you've written wonderful books. One about the LA scene, the Woodstock scene, the Doors, Joni Mitchell, Tom Waits. Most of it was about American music rather than British music.
I can't really answer that other than to say that there was something that from an early age intrigued and indeed obsessed me about America. I think it was just seeing America on television, in movies, watching the Monkees, things like that. It just made me want to go there. My dad would occasionally go there on business, and he would come back from New York with sort of things, got little like guidebooks or plastic Empire State Buildings, and somehow this kind of incubated some idea of America. And just, I'm sure I was hardly alone in that.
It seemed far more romantic and exciting than England. It's true.
Exactly.
Life, a bit prosaic.
Like many, I wanted to get there. I wanted to get there as soon as I could, and I went there for the first time, I think in '77, and I arrived the morning after the blackout, the infamous blackout in New York City.
I was there that day too.
You were?
Yeah, 1977. Yeah, I think it was in July 1977.
It was July 77.
Absolutely incredible. It was riots. People were breaking into department stores and stealing stuff.
Yes. Well, what were you doing there?
I was hitchhiking around America. We just arrived. Me and my friend arrived in New York during the blackout. I can remember it being the most post-apocalyptic scene.
We might even have been on the same plane. But in other words.
No, we were hitching up from the south, but it was extraordinary. I remember trash cans rolling in the streets, broken windows, police everywhere, fires. Incredible. And one little restaurant had somebody had set up their car and left the car lights on and were eating outside, tables outside, lit by the lights of their own car. It's extraordinary.
That's extraordinary. I didn't experience it firsthand because I actually, having arrived at JFK, my mate and I went out to Long Island. So I didn't witness what happened in the city, but I woke up the next morning to a copy of the New York Times on the breakfast table with the pictures of everything you've just described.
It was astonishing.
Wow. I mean, shame to have missed that. But
baptism by fire.
Also not quite a good idea to have missed it.
Yeah.
Another piece of battered old vinyl, Mark, David.
Yes.
Copy I bought of Todd Rundgren's Wizard of True Star. And I hold this up because, well, again, it's just a fabulous gatefold item. But to me, this is almost the greatest record ever made. I think Danny Baker might agree with me. I went to see Todd perform A Wizard of True Star with Danny, and it was a magical evening. But I absolutely love this record.
It's also got the great advantage of being called A Wizard of True Star.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a huge believer in that certain titles just have charisma.
Yes.
That you used to go in record shops and long before you heard these records, you read them.
Yeah.
And you thought, there's a record called A Wizard of True Star. How cool has that got to be?
Yeah.
You were sold already.
Yeah.
And then you'd read the review and it would be ages before you'd hear anything at all. And the package.
This is something that was bequeathed to me by the late Charlie Gillett. Who died.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right.
Fabulous.
Now,
Madison Square Garden, where is it? Yeah.
Yes, so this is Madison Square Garden. It's a show. It's an actual flyer, I guess you'd call it, little poster flyer for a show in 1965. Where's it? March the 20th, my sister's birthday, 1965. And Bobby Bird is on there, the Famous Flames. Vicky Anderson.
Slim Harpo down the bottom there.
And extra added attractions. Yeah, slightly incongruously. Slim Harpo.
Got the Shangri-La's at the bottom of the bill. That's tragic.
I think this is a sort of flagrant appeal to a slightly whiter audience there, don't you? Not Slim Harpo, but the Shangri-La's and Lou Christie and Len Barry. But there we go, Madison Square Gardens. Charlie was kind enough to give me a bunch of stuff when I was researching my soul book. And just because The Sound of the City was such an incredibly important book, and part of my education, that was a sort of little homage to Charlie.
Very good.
It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you very much for inviting us to your attic, library, downstairs, everywhere.
For the tour of your house.
All over the place. All over the place. And we'll see you on the other side.
Other side, absolutely, man. Great to see you guys. Have a great day and a great week.
Thank you. Thanks, Barney.
Cheers.
Bye.
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 Bye.